Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be doing episode 13 of the Delorean build series. We're going to be focusing on doing interior upgrades. We got the Recaros in the last episode, and today Martin is going to be making seat rail brackets for them. So let's get right to it. Martin is currently working on the jig for the new seat brackets. I'll show you guys some of the footage from last night when he started the jig, as well as took the seats out of the car. So the reason Martin is making this jig is so that he can weld outside of the car. So basically these 4 holes are in the same location as the OEM seat bracket holes that are inside the car. That way he can make new brackets and weld outside the car without having to take all the carpet out or any of the sound deadening. These are the OEM seat rails. Martin is actually going to make use of these and adapt them to the new Recaro seats that we got. So Martin finished up the basic parts of his jig. You guys can see now the seat rails go right into these holes, and he can make an adapter plate basically from these mounting locations to the mounting locations of the new Recaro seats. So Martin now has to find a way to mount these mounting locations to the new seat rails, and I'll have to have some kind of like a little steel plate adapter in between the two so they can mount together. So Martin cut the bar stock to the length he wanted, and now he's marking out holes not only for the new Recaro seats, but also for the actual seat rails, so that he can have holes to mount for both and allow bolts to go through. So Martin drilled out the holes on this. We ran into one small problem. It's something Martin did not know about these Recaro seats. The actual holes and threads here are actually an M6 bolt instead of an M8. So because these are actually using M6 bolts, Martin's decided that the safest route is to use both of these mounting locations and actually have 4 bolts up in the front to have a more secure planted feel for the seat. Especially under high acceleration up in the front, you don't want the seat lifting up and possibly breaking the 2 bolts. So Martin made the little plates. He just currently just bolted them on. As I said before, Martin is actually using all 4 bolts on the bottom to try and strengthen the actual mounting location. We slid it up and the rails were working. They're a little bit tight, but this is just testing phase. So now we're gonna actually put this in the car and see if we can test these to slide up and forward. If you guys have ever worked with the Delorean, you guys will know that the actual bolt access for the actual seats is underneath the car. If you have a lift, it's actually pretty easy to work on, but you have to have the car lifted up and then put the bolts on from underneath. So that's exactly what Martin is doing right now, is just screwing on the nuts onto the bottom of the studs from underneath. And now that we have the seat with the new rails bolted in, we'll be able to see if we can get this to slide. So it seems to slide. Like I said before, it's a little bit stiff. We might be able to work on that a little bit. But the seat is mounted in there. Seems like a Recaro and a Delorean, huh? So Martin got the seat mounted in, but there is one issue, is that this seat actually has these little rotation pieces to move the seat forward and backward. rotate the back of the seat up and down. And that has that on both sides, and the inside piece, I can't really show it to you very well, but the inside piece is rubbing on the transmission tunnel. And so Martin's trying to install the actual center console piece to see if that makes more of a problem or not. We might have to rather relocate the seats somehow, or possibly even get different seats that only have that on one side.
Weird. It's like touching, kind of.
So Martin is going to try and shift the rails over on his new bracket, but he is limited basically by the space between where the rail is currently at and the hardware that the rail is mounted on. So he can really only create a small amount of space. So Martin opened up the holes to allow this bolt to move, and then I ran over to the hardware store and I got some button heads so that we could create even more space and try and get that seat rail as much moved to the side as possible. So you can see now, this is about as far over as we're going to be able to do it with what we're doing here. So now it's basically sitting right up against that button head. So the button head goes a little bit of space, and we open that hole up. So we'll put it back in the car, we'll try it and see if it makes it better. So Martin got it set up. We're going to put it back in and test it and see if it's clearing better now than it was before.
Still hitting.
It basically did almost nothing.
Well, it moved it, but I think it was hitting.
So Martin got it in. It's still sliding forwards and backwards. It's still rubbing just a tad on that little side rotation pod that's on now Martin's left side. So Martin's now going to take out the driver's seat and do his best to match with the jig to match the same kind of mounting brackets for the driver's side as well. So Martin got the seat out. Now he's going to try and take these rails off. It's clear that somebody maybe tried to raise this car up and added some washers here.
Could be a factory thing, I don't know.
Not totally sure why. We'll probably take them off just to try and lower the seat and get more headroom. Now Martin is going to use this template that he has from the other one, as well as the jig that he has to weld on, to make the opposite side for the driver's side seat. Which of course, because of the problem that I explained before, is going to have to be just slightly different and have to have the bolt holes extended a little bit to the outsides the opposite direction to allow the seat to move so that it doesn't rub on the inside. So I ran over to Marshall's and got some high heat paint. This paint dries really fast and it's also protective against rust. Martin's spraying down the new brackets and he's going to do that and they'll dry pretty quickly, and then we'll be able to put them in the car and put everything together. So while we wait for the brackets to dry from paint, Martin has decided that he's devised a way to fix our spacing issue, which is cut off this little tab, which is actually what held on that little plastic piece. And we've taken off the plastic piece on one side, and we'll just still have it on the one outside that you can use to modify it. So this is a little plastic rotator piece that we take off on that side. We're not ever going to be able to get to it on that side anyway, so just take it off and allow it to not rub, which means that when we put the center console down, it won't touch, and we won't have to get the center console changed to fit. Martin, you got the passenger seat installed. It was a second to get this seat belt buckle bolted in, and now he's just tightening up the studs. Martin got the passenger side seat put in. He's now going to put the driver's side seat. He did the same modification of taking the little turn knob on the inside off, and now we're going to put it on. So Martin's going to put the driver's seat in now, install it and test it and make sure everything works. So Martin got the driver's seat in. Seems to move back and forth. He's got enough headspace. You can see his head's actually like a little bit above that, but there's like a little pocket basically in this. So he ends up still having headspace when the door is closed. Looks good. So we got the new seats installed. The side bolstering is great. It'll keep us planted in the corners. In the next video, Nick is going to be having the rest of the interior finished up. We're going to finish off this video with a bit of driving. We'll see you guys next time.